What is going on here? Last time we talked about the vertical brick pattern that caused the dome to act more as a solid dome instead of a bunch of separate bricks. That wouldn't be enough to keep the dome standing up though. It probably would have been fine for a small church because the expanse that the dome had to cover was so small. For a massive cathedral though, there is no way that this would work. For a dome that was this big, it would have collapsed on itself. With a bigger expanse, technically you have a lot more horizontal space to deal with. Instead, what would have happened is something closer to this. Yeah, not too helpful there. Let's try and explain how this would happen piece by piece. So imagine that this is your completed dome here. This is just bricks, by the way, nothing else. What'll happen is gravity would kind of force itself on the top of the dome. When this happens, a portion of the dome walls has to expand and grow outwards. If this happens for long enough and the expansion is so great, then the whole thing would eventually collapse, resulting in a big heap of rubble in the middle of the church. Basically, you're in a fight against gravity. And, well, how do you fight against gravity?
Hey Smaug, how would you try to keep a dome up? What?
Let's think about it this way. This was the middle of Italy. There's lots of wine barrels around. So, it's perfectly reasonable that he would be inspired by, well, the rings on barrels. What he would do is he would put a series of stone chains throughout the inner workings of the dome itself, in between all the bricks, and those would be held together with iron posts, and that would work in the same way as the rings on the barrel would. It would help it retain its shape. The original plan was to have 6 iron chains in there that would have been covered in lead, but ultimately they wound up having 4 stone chains and added a wooden one later on. Now, since the octagonal base wasn't perfectly even, then you needed to have the iron pegs to make sure that the corners could be flexible in a way so that they could still be rung around. If you place those chains where the expanse is most likely to happen, then all of a sudden your dome stays up on itself. The same thing is happening with our pencil holder. It's just a loop stopping the pencils falling down from gravity. Now, when someone is explaining all of these things together in one point, it's easy to forget that no one knew how to do this before. Once again, all of this technology was lost with the fall of the Romans several hundred years ago at this point. There are even factors that for us, we didn't know until recently.
Io, in 40 anni di studi, sono arrivato a mettere a punto una ricerca che ha trovato il metodo di costruzione usato da Brunelleschi, che era rimasto segreto per 600 anni.
These assorted chains especially were quite novel. I mean, even the Romans, they didn't use chains. They just made extra concrete at the base and thought that would work. With all that in mind, despite the fact that we know now that the dome is still up, no one knew that it would stay up at that point. And that is what we're going to kick off with in the next part of this series. Hey everybody, just want to say a big thank you for watching my second video on the Florence Duomo by Brunelleschi series. It's been a lot of fun putting it all together and trying out this whole YouTube mini documentary thing that I've been going on recently. If you guys would consider, then it'd be awesome if you guys subscribed and liked the video and maybe shared it around so that more people could get a look and see on what I'm trying to do here.